You are listening to the Marketing 32 Show with your host, Brett Allen.
Hi, Brett Allen here, host of the Marketing 32 Show, where I connect with leading dentists, dental influencers, and industry experts, as you know, to uncover the greatest and latest, best insights, innovations there are to help your dental practice to grow and thrive. This episode, as always, is brought to you by our team here at Marketing 32. We're the only dental marketing team that I know of with a performance guarantee that if you're not growing, you don't pay. We're truly invested in your growth. We demonstrate that, we track it. We want to be the most ethical marketing team out there, driven for value. So if you need help with marketing, stuck in your growth, not sure how to take things to the next level, reach out to us at marketing32.com. We'll have a quick, brief discovery call, and we'll review what our process is like, see if we're a great fit to work together. Quick shout out to Catherine Eitelbelt. Recently had her on the show.
Yay.
Talked all about effective leadership communication, working with your team, all of that. She is a wealth of knowledge, especially if you're speaking in dentistry. So check that episode out with Catherine. It's full of value. Today, I'm super excited to have some new friends of mine here in the Colorado area, Marissa Krugov and Chris Hammelev. They are the co-founders of the Dental Practice Management Agency, better known as the Velvet Hammer and the Spicy One, bringing together decades of leadership across clinical, administrative, and executive roles. With over 20 years in dentistry, Marissa has excelled as a life coach, regional manager, and national consultant, while Chris brings 32 years as a hygienist, treatment coordinator, and manager who has led top-performing hygiene teams nationwide. Together, they help practices unify their teams, strengthen communication, and implement sustainable systems that drive growth, profitability, and a thriving practice culture. Chris and Marissa, thank you for coming on the show today. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Excited to go deep with you guys on who you are, how you work with practices, how you got into what you're doing, your process, and even more interesting, embezzlement. That's a high thing that I think is affecting the industry. It's a big thing, right? So why don't we kind of, to kick things off, we could talk with each of you individually about, like, tell us a brief background story of like how you got into dentistry, and then ultimately how you got to working together and what you're doing today.
So I did a couple of years of college, didn't know what I wanted to do, and looked at dental hygiene and said, wow, that sounds like fun. So, and there was no math, have to put that out there. So I thought, oh, there's no math and this looks like fun. Let's do this. So I did it and really fell in love with the profession of dentistry and pretty much everything about it. I've had some great mentors, over the years, and then really took it upon myself to start growing hygiene teams and then moving on and then growing another one and then moving on and then growing another one, and just seeing the impact it had on the practice. And from there, just took off and started consulting, with another consulting group where I met my now business partner, Marissa, and we just decided that this was, not necessarily honoring the brand of where we were and what we wanted to be. So we split off and did our own thing, and here we are. So it's just rewarding every day to see the practices that we work alongside do beautiful, beautiful things. Marissa?
That's great. Yeah.
Well, I started super early. I was 15 or 16 when I first started assisting. And I fell in love with everything dentistry. The dentist that I started with taught me like I was his associate. So he would pull out path books and just got me addicted to dentistry. And his wife was the insurance coordinator, so she taught me everything insurance. And I just, same thing, fell in love with all things dental and have been in it ever since. So I kind of, after private practice, went corporate, worked my way up from being an ETA all the way up to being a regional manager of 23 locations here in Arizona. And
Okay.
it kind of got a little bit too much for me, the corporate mentality of kind of more. And I felt like I couldn't protect my team anymore. So I thought, if I could consult, I can kind of marry the beautiful systems that DSOs have with the beautiful relationships that private practice has, which is what Chris and I do. And
Yes, I love that.
and this is where I am.
That's great.
Thank
I
you.
want to go deeper on that aspect because I think as we see more private equity come in, more DSOs, more corporate, it's almost like that's that's what's going to happen in the industry, and it's just going to become more and more corporate dentistry. Which there's some good things and there's some challenging things and bad things, right? Um, so I would love to hear more about your background and specifically how you guys merge those two worlds and work with practices. So you bring the value of organization, you bring the value of next level leadership into the solo practitioner and the smaller, and probably you probably work with smaller group practices too, right? Not just the solo practitioner.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
solo,
Yeah.
smaller group, and even some private equity.
Okay.
They're not bound by the rules of bigger corporate offices, and a lot of them come to us and say, "Hey, we love the corporate part, because it's organized and we can duplicate it, and we're private equity for a reason. We want it to be personal. We want it to be, a wonderful experience culturally, not only for the team but for the patients. Can you
Mhm.
help us do that?" So we do quite a bit with that as well.
Cool. Cool. So, so yeah, let's talk about the practice management agency, your team, and like how you work with practices. Can you kind of walk us through maybe who's the ideal practice that you work with, and then maybe some golden nuggets of value of like how you work with them, and like that detail a little bit more about your process that makes you unique from all the other advisors that are out there and consultants working with practices.
Yeah. So, Chris and I, when we started, we knew that we did not want to keep our clients into perpetuity. So that was one of our founding principles. Like, we are here to teach them to fish and let them go fish. And we also our tagline with ourselves, if you will, is that we are here for their success, not their time and money. So if we ever feel like people aren't really ready for change, even though they say they are, which is a lot of people in life, or if their team isn't behind them, or whatever the case is, we will be the first to go to people and say, "Hey, look, now isn't the moment. Maybe there's another time that this might work for you, but we are not going to sit around and suck people's time and money." So we kind of took that basis and move forward with building our program that we have. So we have a 12-month program. We're month to month, so there is a contract, but it's more for HIPAA than anything. Like, just don't steal our stuff. We won't steal your stuff, basically. And really, what that looks like is leadership with the doctors, teaching them how to run their business better. I teach them how to embezzlement-proof their business, um, how to speak to their team better and get them from the heart up, not the neck up, right? Just really, truly getting them bought in, which is not easy to do. And then we have also, what kind of makes us a little bit different is we have department trainers that start month 2 through about 6 or 7, depending on the team. And what they do is we have hygiene, admin, assistant trainers that go into each department, clean up all the systems. If they're beautiful, we leave them alone. We don't need it to be like the Chris and Marissa show, right? Like, if it's cute, keep it. If it's not working as well, then we, spit shine it and clean it up. But after that 6 months, they're given an electronic SOP manual that stays with them forever. And we constantly update it, even if they're not continuing to be clients. Just
So
if
if
we
it
have
needs to be tweaked, that's nice.
OSHA forms or whatever, we just throw it in there for them because we think it's the right thing to do. But yeah, so and that's it. At the end of 12 months, some of clients are our what's nexters, right? They want to stay with us and like, hey, we just got another associate, or we built a whole new practice, or now we have 3 practices instead of 2, or 2 instead of 1. So those people will stay with us a little bit longer through those growth stages. But for the most part, we kind of push them out of the nest. Like, go
Yeah, I
fly,
love that.
consultant your
Yeah.
entire career. And I know
I
people
re-
don't believe that, but you really shouldn't need a consultant your whole career.
I remember when we first met, and thank you, Laura Brenner, if you're listening, for introducing us. Um, that you made that point, and I was like, wow, that's what consulting and advisory should look like. Is you're still there as a resource. You can touch it, tap into
Absolutely.
you guys, but ultimately they need to spread their wings and fly, like you said.
Yeah. We've
Doesn't need
had
to be a
offices.
constant expense on
I'm
the
so sorry,
business.
Brett.
Mhm.
Sorry, Brett. We've had offices come back too. It's like 2, 3 years down the line, they call and they're like, "Oh, okay, we have a whole new team. We have a whole new this. Can we do can we do this
A
again? What do we
refresher.
need?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we just need a refresher? Do we need something more? And things like that. Or they'll say, hey, could you just come quarterly? Because we're really nervous about letting you go. So like, could you just come once in a while? And we're always accessible to our teams and our doctors, even when we're not working together. If you have a problem, call us. We're not going to like start the clock and send you a bill.
Yeah.
Just
Not lawyers.
yeah,
Oh, man.
we're not lawyers.
Oh, man.
Just call us. We're happy to help you.
That's great. That's great. Well, I love that. That's definitely unique to the space, and I love that approach. You mentioned something, Marissa, as you were giving an overview. You mentioned embezzlement. So I wanted to take a moment, if we can, maybe this next block of time for the podcast. Let's go deep on that, because we haven't had anybody on the show that really has gone deep on that. Walk us through how this is impacting the industry, because I've heard some amazing statistics of how frequent this problem is. Let's talk about the signs of it. How do we recognize it, diagnose it, and then how do we cope with it, fix it, prevent it, all of that?
Yeah, it's such good questions. Yeah, it is staggering. 85% of dental practices get embezzled from, which is just like a disgusting number. And
That's amazing.
I know in 2023, Chris and I caught our first embezzler on one of our teams. And it was super sobering for us because we have team members of ours who build amazing reports, and we give them to our teams monthly, and we go through KPIs in our monthly meetings, and we look at AR, and I dive in deep to write-offs and all the things insurance, and
Cash pay.
we
Yeah,
were
everything.
raising this office manager for all the things that, because her AR was good, it was clean. And we, at one point, I saw a weird write-off, and I dug in and I called Chris, and I'm like, oh my God, Chris, this is I think she's stealing. And in fact, she was. And that was when we were like, oh my God, we have to look deeper, and we have to teach doctors how to protect their business. So that kind of, it was at the end of that year, and I spent the entire Christmas vacation building a CE for dentists to teach them how to embezzlement-proof their practice, because I'm like, we can't sit and know what we know and not at least try and shout it from the rooftops for them. But it's scary. It's very scary, the number of it. And I think it's the why behind it that scared Chris and I the most, is why is it so high in dentistry? We are the most embezzled from field. Hey,
Really? Of all, wow.
field, yes. And the only the answer I could come up with in my mind is it's also the only small business where the business owner doesn't have any idea how to bill for or to collect for the dollars that they're making. They don't know
Oh, yeah.
admin, right? Like, they're completely blind to that. Most of them, more savvy dentists nowadays, but for sure, most of the dentists back in the day, they had no idea.
Mm.
That's what Susie does up front. I don't do that, right? So
Yeah, before computers and everything, it's just paper.
yeah,
That's a lot easier to hide things.
yeah. And, things like, we don't do background checks often in dentistry. Like, we make our clients do it now, but the amount of people still today that I'm like, did you do a background check? And they're like, oh my God, we didn't do a background check. And I'm like, oh my God. So, that, and also the docs aren't prosecuting. They aren't. And
They just fire the team member and move on. And somebody,
yeah.
next dentist down the road may hire this person because they got a great resume.
100%. Chris and I see one of the names of the people that I caught before Chris and I ever even knew each other, probably about every 3 months, show up on Indeed, and our clients will be like, hey, this person showed up. Should I interview?
Oh,
No.
Because I had to fire her. She was she was stealing, and she was prosecuted and has a rap sheet from here to East Bejesus, and still she's showing up on, and so that tells me that every 3 months someone's hiring her, and she's showing right back up in the hiring field, right? So yeah, it's scary.
And some of it, Brett, isn't taking money, right? They're not like pocketing it, but it's Susie learned from Lori, who learned from Joanne, and they
this is the
just
way to do
don't
it.
do things correctly. And they write off things they should be charging the patient for, or they're not sure what to do with this weird thing. So they just write it off over time, or hide it or delete it completely, because there's some softwares that don't track that stuff. You can just
Yeah, the
get rid of it.
reconciliation process. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they make it work, and doctors will never know that unless they do the things that Marissa teaches them to do. They'll just never know
Wow.
it. If they, and I think the biggest comfort for them is when they don't look, is they have enough of money in their account, they're comfortable.
Yeah,
So if
they're
they're
like, this
comfortable, they
seems
can
on
pay the
par.
bills.
This is kind of what we're seeing
Yeah.
every month. We've got enough
Yep.
margin here, got enough to cover my overhead and payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hear that time and time again. And, there's another way too, which was what I found that office manager doing a lot. She was also taking money, but I have deemed it since Robin Hood embezzlement, because what I'm finding is they're hiding this money that, let's say Chris comes in, I tell her she owes 500 for her crown, but then insurance doesn't cover it. And so she pays her portion, but now she owes another 500 because insurance didn't cover their part. Well, instead of me going to Chris and getting yelled at, or getting yelled at by my doctor for not collecting from Chris, I'm just going to write it off to that Delta write off or that Cigna write off to an insurance.
Oh,
Doctors complain all the time. We blame a
my
lot.
write-offs are so high.
Our write-offs are terrible. And I'm like, have you audited them? Which is part of what I teach them. How you audit a manageable amount. You have to audit all of them. But, so that they know. Because oftentimes we either find, like Chris said, people are not trained well. They just don't know. Or they're definitely doing some of that Robin Hood embezzlement. They've got some bleeding hearts and they also want to cover their booties. So it's
Yeah.
give or take.
So let's go a little bit deeper on like the signs of this. How do we diagnose that this is a problem I've got? I'm a practice owner. Maybe I'm not as great on my accounting, but I'm checking in, I'm looking at things, I've got some oversight. What are some red flags we can look for that would be okay, I need, I'm not working with a consultant. I don't have anybody holding my hand on this, but there's something going on. Like what things are obvious signs?
That's a great question. So I think the biggest signs I typically see is the production and the collections. I'm sorry, the collections in the software and the collections in your bank account aren't matching. Like those two things don't equal each other, right? So I see a lot of that. But the doctors, like Chris was saying, they get to a certain point where the amount in their bank account is this amount that they're really comfortable with. I just actually talked to a doctor this morning and he's like, okay, now that I have all these investigators in, I'm noticing that like there's a lot of things that she was stealing, but I always produce this amount and it's always in my bank account. Well, she was tweaking that. So you can hide that. So I think, there's certain things that you just have to look whether you think that there's an issue or not. And I think, it's that trust but verify. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Part that scares me the most is that docs don't have time or the want to do that after they're in a face all day. So
Mm.
I got that money in the account. I can pay the bills. Payroll's covered. Cool. We're good. But that's not always the answer. So I that's why I teach them to audit. And it's like I said, it's a manageable amount to audit, but you have to look. You have to look at those EOBs versus what write-offs are being taken. You have to
Mm.
look at where your refunds are happening. I have offices that have a lot of credits, and that's a perfect place to embezzle from because nobody's looking at those credits. In fact, doctors don't want to. They don't want to have to go back, start handing out checks to people, right? So they're like, don't look at the credits. I don't want to know. So that's a really easy way for me to go and refund my credit card, which is what this woman that I talked to the doctor today about was doing. She's refunding her credit card with credits. So she was overcharging
Oh, interesting.
my nice little kickback.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They're out there. You can't even think about it, can you? Like,
Yeah.
who does this?
Yes.
we had one of our clients, he's got 4 offices, group practice, all different brands because he acquired them over time. And the associate at one of the offices that he wasn't at all the time, great relationship, everything cool. But, and I forget the specifics around what was going on, but he was getting, per the agreement and the employment offer, he was getting a percentage of his treatment paid out to him. But because of how the insurance or whatever was filing and what that percentage was calculated off of, he was actually taking more of what he should have gotten than, yeah. And so the, nobody knew this until like, I think a year after that relationship had ended, he had moved on to another practice. The OM was digging through things and was filing something. And she was like, wait, something's off here from the reports or whatever. And so they dug into it and he had made like $300,000 more over the span of a couple of years. than what he actually should have been paid.
My gosh.
And they could prove that it was intentional. Like he had, like you could see how he had gone in and manipulated things so that the amounts were being paid out more to him. I don't know the specifics of it all, but it
Wow.
seems like there's all these different little ways that you could get burned. And like cash pay, I know that's another way. Like if a patient pays with cash, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, yeah, like what can we do for our listeners? What can we do for the industry of like, hey, here's what you need to watch out for, and then this lead this to the next segment of the conversation. Like what do we? Okay, now we've figured this out. Now what? How do we fix the problem? What options do I have? And then as a team, right? Like, man, you find out this team member has been doing this and nobody knew about it. That's like culturally, like the the everything, that the energy that comes and how that impacts the team. Like
Mhm.
let's talk about that. I know there's a lot that I just said there, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, the how is it happening? Okay, so let's start there. There's so many different ways, and to be honest with you, there are so many times where I've called Chris and I'm like, my gosh, there's a whole different way. Like it's the thing is if you're
yeah,
not, you don't think like a crook, right? And this has made me
right,
try to start to think like one just so I can be like, what else could they do? Right. Like, but you're not going to think that way because you're not a terrible human. So I don't want people to constantly be worried about how could it be happening. As long as you're checking the things, you're verifying things, you will find something if it's funky, right? Eventually you're going to figure that out. You can't live in fear, but you also can't
yeah,
head in the sand and just pretend like, oh, well, Susie's worked for me for 20 years. She would never. Like I've put ortho on her kids and she watches my dogs when I'm out of town, whatever. That is, there's not this evil, weird person lurking that steals from you. It's those people that you trust because they don't think you're,
yeah.
think
They
it's them.
don't look evil. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
wives and partners and office
Oh
mates
man,
A
and a
brother.
brother,
We caught a brother.
family members. Oh wow.
I had
So
some
what
aunts.
are some of those things they should check? Like end of month reconciliation reports, like what are we looking at?
Good question. So I have a checklist too, Brett. If you have a place where you link anything, I can send it.
Yes.
Just give it so that people can have it, and then they're more than welcome to reach out if they have any questions at all. I'm happy.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll put it in the show notes for sure.
Essentially, what people do, they get those at the end of the day. You get that report, and they're like, "What? I don't ever even look at that. My office manager or whoever puts it on my desk, and I don't look at that. I look at my production, make sure it's good. Sometimes, if we're lucky, they do that. For
Yeah.
me, the thing is I want them to look at that. That's okay. It's good. They should have that. The biggest thing that most people don't have in that is the claims report of submitted claims. And the reason why we want that is because we've caught people billing insurance fraudulently for patients that weren't even patients. It was like, Chris is my buddy. She has Cigna insurance. She's not even a patient here, but I'm going to bill
She didn't even ever come in.
right. I'm going to bill Cigna for a bridge and I'm going to have them pay the patient.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
And then we split it because I'm
Yeah.
her buddy.
Yeah.
So I got $1,500. I'm going to give her $750. I'm going to keep $750, and we're good.
that's a big one. That happens a lot.
Didn't say a lot, but we've caught it.
But it
happening.
just
So,
happened.
Okay.
part of what I've kind of put in place is
Claims report.
claims report. And that's just a report of all the claims that went out. It also helps you knowing that your claims are going out. Because there's a lot of times we go in offices and we're like, when's the last time you sent out claims? We're not getting insurance payment. Ooh, I'm busy. I haven't been able to do that. I'm like, Ma, that's the first thing you need to do. We need money, right? We got to keep it flowing in. So that's a good thing to add to that. Definitely look at it. But what I really love is for once a week for the docs to grab like 10 patients. I'm sorry, once a month for the docs to grab 10 patients that were payments. So not production patients,
Just
but
pull 10. Just dig
Hey.
into 10.
do some from Cigna, do some from Delta, like, whatever, in network, out of network, cash patients. I just want you to pull it and look. And what you do is you need to make sure that your explanation of benefits, those EOBs, are electronic. If you have a paper EOB in your office, this is not the right way to do it. You need those scanned in. They don't have to be in the patient chart, but just in a
A digital record.
yes. So that you don't have to keep those paper ones, but so that you from home, if you wanted to, can go in and look, okay, Chris's write-off should have been $100. It was $200. What the heck happened? Or they didn't pay for this crown, and I noticed the entire crown amount got written off. So they just kind of need to go through and audit the write-offs and clean that up and see what's going on. That'll tell them a lot, because usually that's where I find people, even if they're stealing money, they got to hide it some way. So if you'll start to see like weird deleted things or whatever like that. Most softwares have an audit list of just anything that's been audited out of there. So you can look and see who did what and when they did it. That was one of
Journal entries and things. Yeah.
also, yeah. So that's another thing
So,
to make sure you check.
and then, okay, so we find out we've got this problem. What options do we have now? How do we handle it effectively, legally, with the team?
Great question. The first thing you want to do is nothing with your team. You don't want anyone to know. And I don't want my docs telling people that they're looking. They need to do these audits with nobody knowing. Unless they have a
Okay.
partner.
Yeah, yeah.
Then hey, Chris, my partner, you do
You-
5, I'll do 5. That's totally fine. But no one should know. And when they find things, the first thing they want to do is go up to them and be like, why'd you write off Chris's balance? So I was like, don't do that. We're building a case, because sometimes it's not what you think it is. Sometimes we find things and it's not embezzlement.
Yeah, you don't want to go shoot them and kill them when they're like, well, I didn't know this is how Sally told me to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So build a case, and once you know it's something, you have to decide in your mind, what's your end game? Are you going to prosecute this person? Are you truly going to prosecute? Because the truth is it takes about anywhere from $7,000 to $35,000 to have someone come in and forensic account
All the legal, everything.
And that's not you prosecuting them. That's just them proving
Making the case.
shadow of a doubt that Chris stole from me, right? So a lot of money. So are you going to prosecute? This is why most people don't. And I'm not saying don't, but when people are stealing your money, what don't you have? 35 grand, right? Like, to throw at this. So that would be the thing, is if your end game is I'm prosecuting, then you need to call somebody who is a forensic accountant. And there are dental specific ones. There are ones who just do this and that's what they do. I would usually, Chris and I say, lean towards a dental specific person, because they know dental. Right? They get it. They're going to be able to dig through those a lot faster, and a lot of them bill in time. They're going to be able to dig through them faster. So that's always kind of like Prosperident is a big one. But you have to figure it out. If your end game is like, listen, I'm not going to do all that. I don't want to deal with this. I just want this person out of here. Then, that it's getting them out and making sure that no one else is in their little ring with them before you do.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Okay. So you go through the headaches and the pain and the expense of all that. Comes time to actually confront the team member. How do you have that conversation? Obviously you fire them. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's cases where you don't, but what are those next steps? Okay. Now Sally's gotten fired.
Yeah.
Team's asking questions, walk us through that.
Well, I call whoever your insurance provider is that's going to cover your butt with their legal people if they get a wrongful.
This is something you can file insurance on.
Yeah.
Well, call your liability insurance. Those people, because
errors and omissions, your general liability.
Most people's liability has a dishonest employee clause in it, and they don't even know about it. And they actually will help cover you, but they have to do some of that investigation too. So really it's or anybody who would cover your butt if you had a wrongful.
Can you get involved? Yeah.
We need to make sure that a lawyer is behind this, an employment lawyer, excuse me, so that you can, you got to cover your butt too, because what you don't want is say, hey, Chris, I'm firing because you stole from me. And Chris is like, oh, this is defamation and all these things. And I'm going to, right. Even if she is stealing. So you got to make sure that you're covering your butt before you just say any words.
Yeah.
Or employment attorneys, make sure you have that liability insurance.
Yeah.
Do your homework to figure out what it is to cover your butt before you do that. And those people are going to tell you what you do. Have anything signed? Do you just let Chris go if you're not going to prosecute and not mention any of the other things? Hey, Chris, it's just not a fit. You're not doing the things I need you to do.
And you're just going to.
And that's what you also tell your team. You're not allowed to defame that person or slander that person in any way. You don't know. There's no prosecution. There's no proof.
Unless there's some kind of
and even
lawsuit that's filed and and there's a verdict, only then you have the ability.
Yes.
Wow.
It's no longer a good fit. We had to let her go.
Yeah.
the only
It's
thing you
funny
can
how
do.
the fire, the people we let know, the team knows before you know, oftentimes like, yeah, she wasn't a good fit or he wasn't a good
Mhm.
fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. They do.
Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I wish we go deeper. We're already at 30 minutes. And, yeah. So I guess we'll just close with, and this is the format of the show. Chris, maybe you can go first since Marissa's
I'll go
been
first, and
talking
Marissa
the
will
most.
wrap
I
it. I
feel
know
bad
what
we
she's
haven't
gonna
had
say
much
too.
from you.
I think,
Yeah, the golden nugget, right? Like, what is that one thing? What's that one epiphany? If we could help our listeners have that, it would have a huge impact in their practice, their
yeah,
lives.
I think the golden nugget for our teams are, and it sounds a little bit woo woo, but doctors, if you have a vision for what you want, you need to be super clear, about it, and you need to get your team invested in that, in your vision. And then if you invest in your team, not just financially, but emotionally and culturally, and getting systems in place and making it a beautiful place to work. If you invest in that, if you invest in your team, your practice will grow, and it'll grow beautifully, and you'll have wonderful support. So that's it. If you grow your team, you'll grow your practice. It's really what it is.
Yeah. How can I help my team get ahead so that I get ahead? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's communication. It's listening, leadership.
Be- Being a servant leader, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that. And Marissa, what's your golden nugget?
I think we always have had this joke that we talk about how dentists don't know business, right? They don't teach them that in school.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not in dental school.
Oh, it's like, but it's not really that funny when you think about it, right? Like when we think about the joke, it's not really that great of a joke. So my biggest thing is that we can't hide behind that anymore. When people are coming to us and crying and just in upheaval because this has happened to them with embezzlement. Like, I need the doctors to take their business by the horn. I understand it's a lot to be the only producer and the business person and the HR person, all the things
The hats.
but this is what you signed up for. And if you want this ultimate responsibility of being a business owner and all the autonomy that comes with it, you have to protect your business. This is when you retire, this is the thing that's going to, you're going to hopefully sell and be able to retire well. Please have another retirement though. But I think that embezzlement piece is huge, but what it's not even the embezzlement, it's that they don't know what's going on with their business. And that's very scary. And you have to educate yourself just as much as your clinical CE. It's just as important to make sure that you have business CE.
Yeah. Yeah. Coaches are so important. Even life coaches. There's so many areas that you can tap into the expertise of somebody else who's been where you are, and that can. We should all have help. Don't go the walk of business and life, relationships, marriage, all of it. Get advice. It's so much nicer when you have somebody holding your hand and talking through things. I mean, in an industry that's plagued with the highest suicide rate, right? Like, get help, reach out, talk to people. There's a lot of challenges in dentistry and business ownership, all of it, but I guarantee you the problem you're facing that you feel like is your nightmare and it's like so heavy right now, somebody's already been through it. Somebody's already walked through that.
Oh yeah.
So, well, this has been awesome. Great conversation. Really value both of you and our friendship and your advice. And this has been great. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you to kind of explore working with you, should we send them to your website? Is that the best place to go? Or do you want to give out your emails? Do you want to, what kind of, is
Yeah, we can
website
give
best?
you website's great. We can give our emails. They can call us. I mean, we have no problem, with them just picking up the phone, giving us a text. Just tell us who you are. So it's like, hey, can we talk? I'm like, spam, So,
Oh, man, I get
but
so
we
many
can give
spam
you all
calls and
that.
texts every day.
We'll get you all that information, Brett, for the show
We'll put
notes,
it in
and
the show notes.
put it
Yeah,
all in
please,
there. We're good.
please send it over. But for now, if you're listening, it's a really easy website to remember, dentalpracticemanagementagency.com. Really easy, dentalpracticemanagementagency.com. Well, awesome. Thank you again so much. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for
That's
having us.
awesome. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Brett.
Until next time on the Marketing 32 show, everybody have a great day. Take care.